There's this narrative, this expectation that rock bands are supposed to not care about anything. They're just supposed to do their music, go on stage, perform, and then, proceed to destroy their hotel rooms and stuff. I'm just kidding. But you get my point, that they're supposed to not care about anything, just their music. And One OK Rock, part of the reason they have been so popular, successful, and also hated, is because they've broken that convention. They have not only been very, very considerate about their fans, but they also got a former boy band as their as their lead singer. So this reaction is going to be a little different in the format that I usually do, primarily because I don't want to play the entire special because it's so long. So I will just show you certain clips that I feel that made like a huge impact on me. This part, when they said that, when they finally came together and started playing again, it's just it struck a chord on me because everybody sort of forgot who they were during the pandemic, because we had to stop doing a lot of the things that we are used to doing. Like we had to stop seeing our friends, we had to start going out, we had to start working for many people. We had to stop going into traveling and stuff. I do remember that when I had to travel for the first time after the pandemic, I was literally shaking to be among 50 people. I thought I was gonna pass out because I was just not used to that anymore, when in fact that was something I did a lot, both as just because I like traveling and because I had to do so for work. But in the end, this one was such a powerful scene for me, because they realized that they were doing something they had to do for work, the same way I had to travel for work. But it ended up being more beneficial to me than it is for everybody else. So it ended up being more beneficial for them, for the band, instead of for other people, because they started remembering who they were before the pandemic. So I like that scene because it was so relatable. We went through the same thing that they were going through. This part right here just proved that they have complete control over their creatives. It was Taka who first decided that they wanted to do this. It was his idea. He said, let's do a concert, an online concert. It was not dictated by the label or their management company. Just this part, Taka just sounds so good live, as he does, not live. I mean, he sounds as good live as he does with all the sophisticated engineering involved when he sings. Okay, next. This part is again very, very powerful for me, when he said that let's fill the empty spaces. I think one of the things that people realized is how scary emptiness and being alone could be. That all the empty space in the street, the silence that you had to experience, those were scary. But when he said this, I realized that you don't need to wallow in your loneliness. You don't need to be sad because of all the empty spaces. You can fill it up with your own sound, either whether it's the sound of your own heartbeat or your own singing or your own creativity. But you do not need to be afraid of an empty space. Own it. Own your empty space. So again, this part, I forgot how this feels. It's easy really to lose track of who we are when we're subjected to a certain situation that we did not voluntarily, even if we voluntarily submitted ourselves to it. It's just easy when we're in a new environment, when we're forced to be in a certain environment we're not used to being. It's so easy to forget who we are. So when he says this, when he says, "Oh, I forgot how this feels," that struck a chord. Okay, next. This part, when he was in the neighborhood and decided to drop by and visit his father, and his father said, so he was saying that he ran away from home. Taka actually ran away from home, and he was so happy. He was telling the story of how his father visited him where he worked one time, and they spoke for the longest time after a long time of not seeing each other. And his father said, I was always thinking of you. He said, of course, you're my son. I was talking away from you. And apparently his father also ran away when he was young. And he said that I was in your shoes. And I knew how how hard it was going to be for you to return. And so that's why he decided he would go to his son rather than let his son go through the difficulty of having to stay away from his family. And then there was another part when he said, I gave him money. After that, he gave Taka money so that he can buy himself some food. And his father said it was a heartbreaking experience. And it was, I knew they were laughing, but it was powerful because they were laughing as they were recalling the story. But I knew it was very, very sad and very, very painful at the time that it was happening. And it just proved that, it just shows me how powerful a parent's love is to their children. And I wish that everyone would also do it the same way that his father did it. If you know how painful it is, reach out to your child and don't be so. I know that some parents, especially Asian parents, they're very, very strict, and they feel like, well, you run away, then come back. You voluntarily run away, then voluntarily come back. Do remember that it's also hard, and maybe at times you can do the reaching out rather than waiting for your child to reach out. And then there's another part when he said, I am proud of you. I'm proud of you as a father and as another human being. Like, of course it's a given. Of course it's a given that you're a parent and you're going to be proud of your child. But when he said, I am proud of you as a father and as a human being, like, it's not just because I'm your father, right? I'm just from one human being another. I'm proud of you. And then he said one more thing. I am proud of your accomplishments and everything else that you do. Because you shouldn't just be proud of your child's accomplishment. You have to be proud of everything else. And he made sure that Taka heard it. I'm proud of your accomplishments and everything else that you do. Okay, next. This part when Taka was talking about the singers, other performers that he invited, and he said, I'm sure they don't have a very high opinion of me because he was a member of a boy band. Was actually with Johnny's before he was fired from Johnny's. So, many boy band pop stars are actually looked down upon, but specifically boy bands, because they are trained and they're supposed to be manufactured and stuff. And Taka knew it, and he was very open about it, and he was okay with it. It was like, I don't care if you look down on me. I think, I know that we're going to get along fine and we're going to create something beautiful. So I decided I'm going to invite you. And it just made me ask myself, how big of a person do you have to be able to do that? To know that this person looks down on you, and you still invited that person to be a part of something historical, to be a part of your art, and to be a part of your experience. How big of a person do you have to be? You have to be as big of a person as Taka is, apparently. Okay, that's class. That's class and that's confidence. Next is when he said he was talking to Warner bosses in North America, and that he does understand that when you're in Rome, you have to do what the Romans do. But another side of him also is recognizing the importance of being true to yourself. Like, he wants to die a samurai. So he's aware of it, that there has to be some compromise. He needs to reach out. He needs to adjust to a certain level without losing his identity. And that is the reality of having to work in any kind of industry, but especially in the entertainment industry. Of course, you can't just do what you want and nothing but what you want. At some point, you're gonna have to compromise. It doesn't mean, however, that you need to lose yourself. Okay, next. This I love when they started recognizing, when they started talking about the importance of Taka, when he said, we have the king with us. It's just touching how this creative excellence that they have all starts with something non-musical and non-artistic, and that is trust. They have come to trust Taka. He specifically said they don't always understand him, but they know that he has a vision and he's following through, and they trust him. So their excellence in art and music are grounded in the excellence that they have in their career. It's grounded in something that is not related to their craft. It's just personal. They trust him, they trust Taka, and that's why they decide to follow him. So it's heartwarming to hear them praise their bandmate for what he's doing. But on the other hand, it's also heartwarming to hear Taka recognize the fact that had it not been for the band that he has been with, he wouldn't be where he is now. If it wasn't for Toru, who decided he was going to pursue him to ends until he agrees to be a part of their band, then he wouldn't be where he is now. So I think it works. That's why it works. That's why the band works the way as well as they do, because there is this mutual respect and mutual recognition of how the other contributes to the other. Perfect. Okay. Next is the typhoon. The typhoon, when they said that they're known for being the sunshine band, but this was like historic in itself for the typhoon to actually do a U-turn. And even Taka was saying that he has heard of the storm going right, going left, changing its direction, but he has never heard of a typhoon doing a full U-turn. So they were able to push through the concert. But it was also very humbling to see them finally not be in control of one thing in that concert, because everything else they were fully in control of. They make the decisions, they say the song that they want to sing, they tell people what kind of arrangement should be made and stuff, the style and stuff. But the weather, they had no control over, and so they were in this sort of surrender. We don't know what's gonna happen. So it was sort of refreshing to see them surrender to something they have absolutely no control over. And I guess that's testament in everyone's career, in everyone's life. There's just always one thing that will go wrong. You can do everything right, but there's always one thing or many other things that can go wrong. And the only thing that you can do is surrender and do your best. Next is this part when he says, look into the camera, when he said that their label, so their primary struggle is because they're very used to, and you've heard a lot of singers say this when they are performing, a huge part of their energy is actually coming from the audience, because they see the audience excited, dancing, singing with them. And without that, at some point you're just going to exhaust yourself and you wouldn't know where to get the energy. And you don't know what you're performing for, because it's an empty stage, it's an empty stadium. And then they got this letter from their the label, saying that, the head of their label saying that, just look into the camera, because at the other side of that would be people watching you. And Taka realized that that's true. On the other side of that camera are people watching us. We may not see them, but they're there. And I guess it's the same for everybody else, And it's not just because of the pandemic. A lot of people, it's a given that a lot of people, we stopped seeing them when the pandemic happened, just because it wasn't possible for us to see them, physically possible for us to see them. But we need to trust and we need to know that they're there. Same thing, but then you can also apply that to many other people in our lives, like in just a regular basis. We may not always see them, but know that behind that text, on the other end of that line, or behind that phone number that you're seeing on your phone, is a human being who is a part of your life and who may actually be caring for you. So don't let the lack of physical presence affect you too much. Okay. This part, I have never seen Taka sexier. His control, like how detailed he is in his brain when it comes to his vision. Oh my God. It's just, I I've always known that they have complete control over their creatives. But for me to hear them actually explain in detail what he has in his mind, my God. And then he decided we're not gonna do with it because he couldn't deliver perfection, and that's it for him. I would either give you perfection or nothing at all. And then the other thing is that when he said, so he told his bandmates that he was going to, that they were, the AR is out. They weren't going to do any AR. It's just us performing, he said. So you can't let go, not even a single second. And then they cried in the end, and it was to a certain degree. I was actually surprised to see them cry, because they seemed to be just easy, you know. They were taking it easy. They were they were just going with the flow or whatever. But then they cried, and I realized that people don't always express emotions the same way. And in here we could see just how pressured they were, how much pressure they put themselves into. And you see that just after, when they release, when it's done, nothing else to be, and it worked, and they were finally able to let go of their emotions. It was a little funny, and funny in a good way, and surprising just to see them crying. And I guess that after the entire series, the entire special, I think one of the things that I realized, that I learned, is that we just need to find a way. Like in every hindrance, in every challenge, in every misstep that we experience, we just need to find a way, right? Like for them, performing without an audience was just something they never imagined doing, but they found a way. And so the same thing is true for us. We just need to find a way. So watch it, flip the coin, one OK Rock, watch the special, and of course stream their songs.